Greetings, I'm Chevalier and I bid you welcome to the English situation and guide to Serbia. Serbia, as is close neighbor Bosnia, is one of the, let's say, high difficulty nations to play as. They are a little bit more difficult to play as than Bosnia, mainly because you're Orthodox and you're bordering the Ottomans, but they closely resemble the playstyle of Bosnia, although it might be a little bit harder for you to join the HRE, as well as allying Hungary and Austria simply because you're Orthodox and not Catholic. Later on, it's advisable that you switch to Catholic, simply because it's gonna allow you to join HRE faster and get more alliances with basically Catholic nations like Austria, France, Castile, for example. That allow you to dominate this region and also turn it into a little bit, let's say, a Bosnia as well. Like Bosnia and Serbia have pretty much the same playstyle, although they're a little bit more difficult in Serbia's side. So let's just jump into it. Economy wise, you have one. Sorry about this. The cold is still killing me a little bit. Let's see. On cash side here, you're making one ducat and you also have a navy, which is quite important. If you kill everything here, you remain with 3 ducats. I recommend going for advisor. You'll be able to keep one alive. If you really want to go for it, you might want to go for a level 2 advisor, probably one on admin. If not, I recommend going for one point to military. That's the most efficient route there. Other than this, nothing much more to see on cash. Let's go into trade. As you can see here, you're collecting Ragusa. Later on you'll switch to Venice, later on you'll switch to Genoa. Pretty much standard stuff, same as Bosnia. Just to push over to Ragusa later on, switch to Venice. Although try to have a decent control over Venice, if at all possible control Venetia before you do this. Venezia, sorry. Then switch to Genoa later on, when you have controlled a big chunk of this lands here. Remember that as Serbia is gonna be a bit more difficult for you to join the HRE, so try to keep that in mind as well. Also, because you're Orthodox, if you don't want to switch to Catholic, you can take Rome with no penalties. Keep that in mind as well. Now, let's switch over to estates. Here you have the burghers, the clergy, and the nobility. Remember that your eastern tech, you're gonna have the steppes, the Kazakh. If you switch over to this side here, to a steppe region, if you have one of those things on your belt. Other than this, burghers are gonna be burghers. You're not gonna be able to use them later on in the early game. Maybe in the mid game when you gain enough coastal provinces, but even then it's gonna be a little bit of a stretch. Recommend going for draft ships for war when you want to control the Mediterranean. Other than this, on clergy here, you're at 47. You might want to get the admin support here. So 6 support, followed by a recruit minister and recruit inquisitor. That's gonna give you 25. That's gonna get you to 82, but you're gonna gain lands from Bosnia quite fast. So that will allow you to basically avoid the disadvantages of going over 80. Here, you also demand admin support, and that's called try to use the stability cost modifier, the minus 10%, so you can get the cheaper stability here, if at all possible. If not, just go for it. You can see like this. Here on nobility, the only option is to call a diet, then grant a generalship. Demand military support. That's gonna give you the required amount of points. Here I recommend removing sound control over these states whenever possible. Either remove control over Zeta or Nis, whatever floats your boat. It's up to you. Although it might be possible to remove Zeta because smaller amount of points here. So just remove Zeta if you want to. Though later on, if you conquer some lands for Bosnia, it might get an equilibrium there. So just you're gonna demand points and you're gonna have the necessary amount of points there. Other than this, there's not much more to add. You might want to go over to 95 if you think that you're gonna gain tons of land from these guys, but I don't recommend tanking multiple lands from Bosnia. You might want to wait until you become part of the HRE to do this. Now, let's go over to court. You have a leader who is a 223, although he's 67 years old, he's gonna die pretty soon. His heir is pretty shit, 211, so you should make him into a general instantly. Pray for shock value, as always, in the starting, when you're starting as a small guy, pray for siege value, that's gonna be really important for you. Now, here I recommend going either for admin or military. It's up to you how you want to play the ideas. You might want to go either for a first military idea, or if you really want to, if you want to, you can go for a military idea first, or you can go for the standard land expansion. But if you are a really good player, a military idea will suit you fine first. Then you might want to go for admin military focus. If you really want to go for a military idea first, I recommend getting a military guy, and national manpower or discipline guy morale will be perfect as well. That will leave you a little bit of cash, even if you want to go to war. You'll have a basically not a backlog, a reserve there. But if you really want to go for it, you can also go for a +2 guy here as well. Though that is gonna stretch you a little bit. As you can see, you have the minus 20% because your leader is well connected right now. I don't know if these stats are present all over the place or just are random basically for these guys. I'm not yet sure. For advisors, if you really want to go, just go for the national unrest guy, or you might want to go also for the missionary. Though if you want to switch to Catholic, which is recommended, you should just go to national unrest guy. Also remember that if you want to switch to Catholic, you'll need rebels. So in that context, you might want to not even have national unrest. It's up to you, but you need a point. So if you really want the points, just go for the +2 guy here as well. You're gonna be left with 1 ducat, and also if you want to increase your troop size, you're gonna be left with no ducats. Remember, although you're gonna gain +2 points here, you might actually lose on some other sides, because you're not going to be able to transform into Catholic really fast, or you're not going to be able to pay for your troops and you might have to take a loan. So keep those things in mind as well. Now for government, you're a despotate, which is national manpower and income from vassals. You're a kingdom, so that's well and dandy. Other than this, there's nothing much more to say. On diplomacy here, rival pretty much a decent amount of rivals because you're bigger than Bosnia. But primarily you'll want to rival Bosnia, you'll want to rival Albania, and that is pretty much it. Ragusa cannot be attacked because they are they're guaranteed by the Ottomans, so that's impossible. With Wallachia you don't have a border to attack them, and with Hungary you want to ally them, so that's pretty much the only two available rivals here. Now right off the bat, you might want to check to see if you have a mission against Bosnia, and you do. If you're lucky enough, you'll be able to attack these guys quite fast because you'll have a CP on Tarnovia. Also, as you see right now, you have 2 cores, one on Skopje, one on Smyrna. Most likely you're not gonna be able to take those lands, either from Hungary and the Ottomans early on, so there's nothing much more to talk about those things. Now, let's go into technology. On technology here, if you want to go for a military idea, we'll talk about this in idea tabs. Try to use the modifiers as much as possible because you want to save on those points quite a lot. If you want to go for a military idea, for a diplomatic idea first, just try to save on diplo points. That's pretty much it. The rest is try to use the modifiers as much as possible. Try to save some points on admin because you'll have to core at least Hope and Tarnovia, perhaps even let's say from Albania, although you might want to actually ally Albania. It depends on how you want to pull it off. It's possible for you to fight the Ottomans earlier on if you use the Skanderberg strat and not rival Albania, but you currently have a truce with them until 1450, and Albania might die until then. So that is a little bit tricky. At the same time, if Albania doesn't have a decent amount of allies, it's gonna be also improbable. At the same time, Albania might be attacked by Venice as well, which is again gonna suck a lot. So yeah, quite a lot of problems, but the scanner burst strat can be done. If you can ally Albania, and if you are good enough and ally the Byzantium perhaps as well, you might be able to pull off the scanner burst strat if Albania doesn't die before you finish the truce. Keep that in mind as well. It's unorthodox, but it can be done. Now, on technology here, there's not much to say. Pretty much standard. Remember that if you really want to go for a military idea first, try to save on points as much as possible on military points. For ideas here, you have the national manpower, recovery speed, and reinforced speed. Very nice. At least the manpower is good. The reinforced speed, not that great. Might be a little bit useful in the early game when you have siege and you are equal to the enemy number of troops, so that you can reinforce faster when you want to chase in enemy lands. Even in the mid game, it's gonna be quite nice. But overall, there are things that can be that are better than this. For national race -1, decent. -2 could be better. Stab useless. You have the CAF cost useless. You have the CAF commutability decent, good. Though before you can get to your first idea, it might be a little bit difficult to get to it. So let's say that is okayish. That would be the best word. About 6 or 7. Production efficiency plus 10%, same as the last one, 6 and 7, probably a 6. As for mercenary maintenance, I found out that in the mid game, when you are having problems with the manpower, mercenaries are really good. Especially when I played one of my Ottoman campaigns in my free time. I found that having like 15 mercenaries or something like that, it's really gonna help you expand quite fast with no issues. To the point where I had tons of manpower, but I couldn't attack because I had exceeding amount of aggressive expansion, and I had a coalition against me. A small one though, not a big one. Other than this, you have the moral of armies plus 10%, which is okay, and we have the infantry compatibility, which is okay as well. Pretty much, I'll say 6 or 7 on ideas. This is useless. This is not that great, as well as reinforcement speed is not that great, and the modifiers are quite on the small side, if I say so myself. Now let's go to ideas here. So 2 options here: standard land expansion with influence admin followed by a military idea, or influence admin followed by a religious idea. If you want to go religious, you should remain orthodox because you're gonna have a free CP against most of the world except I don't know, Russia basically, and the rest is gonna be the world will be your oyster, how you should say it. But remember that remaining orthodox might cause you some problems in not being the HRE emperor, and that will be problematic. So the second option here will be to go for a military idea first. Now, a military idea first, I recommend going for either quantity if you want to remain orthodox and you don't want to switch, because you're not going to be able to become a HRE emperor. That means no free ship, no free troops, etc. So that's going to be annoying. If you want to switch to Catholic and you find it doable, I recommend going for either offensive or quality. Offensive is going to give you more of a land focused stuff basically, but quality is going to give you more ships as well. So if you want to dominate the Mediterranean, it might be doable if you have quality ideas. Also remember that offensive ideas are going to increase your force limit, and you're going to have tons of force limit for being the HRE emperor, so it might be redundant to have the Grand Army from offensive ideas. For overall, army morale recovery speed are crappy as well. Again, quality ideas I found them better if you really want to expand on the sea as well. Followed by, now here's the tricky stuff, followed by either the standard expansion, land expansion, influence, admin, religious, whatever floats your boat, but usually say influence and admin, or exploration. If you really want to go that route, exploration followed by influence ideas. Now, what this will cause it will basically spur you on to go to the new world, and that is quite important. Now, what will happen right now? You'll want to fight Papal State, Aragon, and Castile, which will be quite problematic, but it can be done. It can be done, and it should be done. I've done it as the Ottomans, I've done it as the Teutons, I've done it as Austria, I've done it as Hungary, I've done it as many nations. Although with a smaller nation is quite hard, with a decent amount of allies and giving them some lands, it should be doable. So just island hop, not island hop, but yeah, island hop until you reach the Canaries, for example. The Canaries are the best option here. Remember that you might want to get an alliance with France or England to fight off Castile, or even fight an alliance with Aragon if it still can be done. Also remember of the Iberian wedding event, which is going to be quite problematic there, so you to some degree need to hurry up on going to the new world. Now, that is pretty much our ideas. For recap, influence admin, followed by religious, or followed by humanist, whatever floats your boat, and that's your main focus, then a military idea there. Or a military idea first, followed by influence, admin, then whatever floats your boat, religious, humanist, diplomatic, another military idea, whatever floats your boat on that side as well. Or military idea followed by exploration. That is a bit more tricky, followed by influence there. Yeah, it's tricky. I might say so that you might want to actually go for Diplo instead of influence if you prefer Diplo. The extra diplomat is going to be really good, especially if you want to become the HRE Emperor or you have to make some claims. You want to create lots of claims, which is kind of problematic in this patch here. But yeah, these are the ideas for Serbia. Let's go into mission decisions. Pretty standard mission decisions for the Balkans. Not that many events on flavor text. Pretty much useless stuff. Some to fight against the Ottomans, regain your cores, independence, regaining of territories. Not that groundbreaking events. Other than this, there's not much more to say here. Stability and expansion is standard. Reduce your exhaustion, boost ability to 1. Remember that do not waste points on this if you really do not want to go to war or you don't have rebels. Here I recommend just going for the native information policy or the native trading policy, although this is better because you're going to be able to expand at a more stable rate than with this, and you need a more stable rate so you can calculate when you're going to reach some islands basically. Other than this, nothing much more to say here. On religion, as I said before, you're all Orthodox. Orthodox have I would say decent modifiers. Mission strength, local unrest, and national manpower is decent, but becoming the HRE Emperor is more important. So try to switch from Orthodox to Catholic whenever possible. Other than this, there's nothing much more to say here. Military, you have a total of 12 force limit, pretty much the same as no. Bosnia has a smaller force limit, like 9. So a lot higher than Bosnia, and you can attack them quite fast. As well as you should build, as well as the fact that you are Eastern and you have 60% cav, which is quite nice. Which means that you're gonna be able to hold a decent amount of cav, which is gonna improve your overall troops. I recommend just going for the perhaps let's say 6. No, let's say 6-3. Let's say 8-4. Right, that's gonna be at 50%. Later on, you might want to build like 8-5 maybe, or 10-5, or 10-6 as well. That's gonna be the appropriate number there. For naval force limit, I don't recommend building anything right now. Your primary target for attack is gonna be Venice, and you're not gonna be able to beat them on the sea. You might want to no, the sea is useless right now. You might want to have at least about 25 force limit. With the ships, I recommend selling them if at all possible, to get some cashbacks to can build some buildings, or just kilometers. They're not gonna cost that much, but if you can sell them at their building cost, that's gonna be really great. Although remember that if you want to rebuild them, it's gonna be a little bit problematic because you're not gonna be able to build ships fast enough. Keep that in mind as well. But usually you're not gonna need ships. Also, forgot about this, you're making gold in Kosovo, and that's gonna build up your economy to some degree, which is quite important. If you really want to, you can boost here to actually get an increase in monthly gold income, which is gonna be quite nice. Like, it's gonna really boost your economy and keep you afloat. But remember that comes at the price of inflation, so that's not gonna be that great. And yeah, this was the issue situation and guide of Serbia, the part 1, the issue situation. As you can see, they are pretty much the same as Bosnia, although they have better options, much more gold, a bigger force limit, so they are better adept at owning the Balkans. Although keep it in mind that they are bordering the Ottoman state, and they might get what's it called? You might get warned by the Ottomans, so that's problematic as well. Also, a few notable situations right now. You can get an alliance with Poland as well at -15, alliance with Hungary at -19, and an alliance with Austria at -19 as well. So it's possible, especially if you get a royal marriage with them. Although you might need a Diplo guy to pull this off, but it's doable. It's doable and should be done. Also, to join the HRE, you need to have relations at 145. If you get home Tarnuvia and Dalmatia, it's gonna really increase. So try to be careful of what you take. This is 7-5, that is 12, and this is 8-5, that is 13. So you might want to go Bosnia and Tonkaji, Dalmatia, or Tarnuvia, home, Dalmatia. It's up to you, but try to make sure that you are able to attack Dalmatia really fast and really sudden. For this, you might need an alliance with Hungary, so try to have an alliance with Hungary as soon as possible. And yeah, this was the situation and guide of Serbia, part 1. Hope you enjoyed this, guys. If you enjoyed this, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.